Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the reuse, redistribution, modifications podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. This is episode 51, which I think I titled like "Appeal to Authority," but it's like the big letter, little letter.
It's like the
big letter.
SpongeBob meme
Yeah,
font.
the re-font.
Yeah. Appeal to authority.
That's what it is. That's what, like, we would just be totally happy if everybody just obeyed authority. Like if we only did what the government said, we'd be like totally okay. Ask Big Brother.
Everything would be awesome.
Right. Everything is awesome.
Living
Exactly our dream. I love that song because it's so obvious. That movie's great, but like in that song, you listen to the lyrics, and it says when you're living our dream, like the collective dream. Like don't step off the reservation. Don't defy the programming. Everything's awesome if you just do exactly what we fucking tell you to do every minute of every day.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman. Guess what? Your car is a baby carriage. You big dumb baby.
And what's the other option? You get shot in the head and left in a ditch?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If you're lucky. If not, you get 263 years in maximum security prison, with a lot of it spent in solitary confinement because you refused to beat somebody up. Like
right.
Ulbricht.
Yep.
This past Christmas was the 6th year in a row that Ross was.
I thought it was 5th, but
fifth or 6th year. It might have been 5th or 6th. I don't know. But the 5th or 6th year in a row that Ross was in a cage at Christmas. And I had to see that picture that Lynn posted of the empty seat with Ross's picture on it.
A person who literally hurt nobody. Fucking nobody was hurt by him.
He should have just worshipped the Craggle like everybody else.
Yep.
No.
Well, ideas are dangerous, guys, Got to make examples out of people.
Right.
Like they're doing to Cody?
Yeah, exactly.
Leonard Peltier. There's another one.
Man, he's been... How long has that been? That's been...
I don't know. I know that the
30 years? I mean...
The 50th anniversary of the Alcatraz takeover is coming up.
Huh.
Have you ever been to Alcatraz, like, on a tour?
Yeah, I have.
I've been by there. I've never actually stepped on the island or anything.
Yeah, no, I went on the tour. They give you back then, they gave you like Walkmans that they had shut with where you couldn't access the tape. So they were just like, and
it was like audio and like kind of like a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I took my headphones off and it was like fucking silent and just like people's feet shuffling along. It was creepy.
I bet.
Because everybody's just listening to the tour. So
that's wild.
I'm sure it's probably an app now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Peltier, he was convicted in 1977, sentenced to 2 consecutive terms of life imprisonment for first-degree murder in the shooting of 2 FBI agents during a 1975 conflict on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. His next scheduled parole hearing will be July 2024. Peltier will be 79 years old.
What was the FBI doing on an Indian reservation anyways? They don't fucking have jurisdiction there, do they?
On paper. They do in terms of if it's a capital crime.
Yep.
Yeah.
On the reservation that my grandfather lives on, a few years back when we had a changeover in tribal council, 2 years before the leaving tribal council had embezzled like $3 million from the tribe. They got voted out. They got voted back in 2 years later because apparently we like to beat ourselves over the head. And the day that they took office, the FBI was on site and arrested every single one of them for embezzlement.
Jesus.
So yes, they do have jurisdiction, but that was in the 70s. That was when all of the really big unrest with all the tribes was happening. Here in Wisconsin, we had the full-on armed conflict and
AIM, the American Indian Movement.
Yep.
That was also part of the Alcatraz takeover with what the hell's John I can't remember the guy's name now. God.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, apparently the FBI agents, they were on the reservation searching for a young man named Jimmy Eagle who was wanted for questioning in connection with a recent assault and robbery of 2 local ranch hands. Eagle had been involved in a physical altercation with a friend, during which he had stolen a pair of leather cowboy boots. Supposedly. So,
allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly.
So, of course, that justified the FBI.
John Trudell.
Well, they couldn't send the local boys because the local boys do not have jurisdiction. They are dealing with a foreign nation, which means the federal government has to be involved.
Yeah. Well, bunch of bastards.
Well, if it's a foreign nation, they should be, sending the CIA in to fucking destabilize their leadership, right?
Well, it sure looks like you guys can use a little freedom.
Go look up pictures of Pine River. It's already destabilized.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Go watch the movie Thunderheart with Val Kilmer and Graham Greene. That
sounds familiar.
Yeah, that was in South Dakota. Anyway, so I don't know how we got on the subject of Indians, but can we just jump into it with Fauxahontas?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure, why not? As long as we're there.
Fauxahontas. Right. I love that fucking name for that stupid cunt.
Okay, so this
God
article.
Bless the internet age, really.
Yeah. This article is from Politico, and it's from December 17th. Senator Elizabeth Warren, a likely 2020 presidential candidate. God, I hope so.
Oh my God, no.
Oh, God, I hope so. Like her awarded Biden debate.
Oh God.
Okay.
Oh.
I'd gouge my eyeballs out. I'd be so fucking bored, dude.
Pure comedy gold.
The memes.
Pure comedy gold.
Okay. So Senator
Sanders debate. Can we talk about a Warren Sanders debate?
Oh, you gotta throw Sanders in there too. Yeah, it's glorious.
Kamala Harris is another 2020 being thrown around.
Oh, God.
How long until you think the Dems try to put Cortez up?
Oh God.
It'll be a while. She's still really young.
Probably like 2024.
They gotta get her to play ball too.
Overly obsessed communist girlfriend.
So Senator Elizabeth Warren, a likely 2020 presidential candidate, will release a bill on Tuesday that will effectively create a government-run pharmaceutical manufacturer to mass-produce generic drugs and bring down prices.
What could go wrong?
Several sources in her office told Politico on Monday in an exclusive preview of the legislation. The bill, dubbed the Affordable Drug Manufacturing Act.
Oh, Christ.
They keep using that
it always does the
word.
exact
I don't
opposite.
think they know what it means.
Yeah, you keep using that word.
Like the Patriot Act.
I do not think it means what you think
always
it
like
means.
the exact. It's always like the exact opposite of whatever they say it is.
Right. Yeah. The Affordable Health Care Act.
Yeah.
Okay, the bill, dubbed the Affordable Drug Manufacturing Act, is unlikely to pass the Republican-led Senate, but it signals that a future Warren White House could try to radically revamp the federal government's role in the pharmaceutical market in order to try to lower prices.
Because every time government gets involved in the market,
everybody knows prices go down. Everybody knows that.
Hold on. Time out. Hold your laugh. Try not to laugh. Try not to laugh. Ready?
Oh, come on. That's asking too much, Jason.
Quote. This is a quote from Warren. Quote. In market after market, competition is dying as a handful of giant companies spend millions to rig the rules, insulate themselves from accountability, and line their pockets at the expense of American families. Warren said relief that her staff shared earlier.
Hang on. So she's saying they spend millions to rig the rules. Who writes the fucking rules?
Yeah, right.
Who writes the rules?
Exactly.
Like, she doesn't realize that she just exposed the whole fucking problem.
Has anyone else seen that image of that the kid with the boot on his head and he's got his own arm?
Self-inflicted.
Yeah. Just
just hold on. In market after market. In market after market, competition is dying as a handful of giant companies spend millions to rig the rules, insulate themselves from accountability, and line their pockets at the expense of American families. Like, there's so many things just wrong with her quote.
There's a lot to unpack here.
You guys, Stormy Daniels would choke on this much irony.
Oh my God.
Oh my! It's just like you hear it, and
you gotta be. Stormy
I
Daniels
went there.
To swallow this one too.
Yeah, like good God, like
Jenna Jameson couldn't choke this fucking thing down.
Oh, what was her name? Heather something or other. That 90s kids.
I'm already out of porn star names that I actually fucking know. So.
Warren is one of several senators eyeing White House runs who have introduced bills targeting the pharmaceutical industry. Just last week, Senators Jeff Merkley, Democrat out of Oregon, Kamala Harris, Democrat out of California, and Amy Klobuchar, Democrat out of Minnesota, introduced the Cure High Drug Prices Act, which would allow the federal government to block price increases on certain drugs. Merkley put forward separate legislation, the Low Drug Prices Act, weeks earlier. And Senator Bernie Sanders, independent out of Vermont, introduced his own bill, the Prescription Drug Price Relief Act, in November. The flurry of bills suggests that the powerful pharmaceutical industry will be a major populist target during the Democratic presidential primary and possibly the general election, as millions of Americans struggle with rising health care costs.
Wait. Americans struggle with rising healthcare costs even after they made healthcare affordable?
See, Trump should have just called the thing for his wall the Affordable Wall Act, and immediately
oh my God.
All at once, all this $12 billion, whatever. Nah, it's nothing.
That's affordable.
No, it doesn't even have to be named for what it is. I mean, he could have called it like the Affordable Labor Act or some shit like that. Yeah. And fucking Democrats would have been all over.
All right, here you go. OpenSecrets.org, the lobby in the top industries. Between 1998 and 2018, which is 21 years, the pharmaceutical and health products industry has spent $4 billion with a B, $1,631,064 on lobbying. They've spent $4 billion on lobbying.
Yeah, and they spent $4 billion feeding the cancer that caused this problem. So let's cure it with more fucking cancer.
Yeah, the
good idea.
The next highest industry in that 21-year span, at $2.75 billion, is insurance.
You know what? These people are so fucking retarded. I don't want them within 300 fucking miles of my goddamn health care. Why don't Americans get this? These people are fucking idiots.
Yeah. As of October 24th, 2018, the pharmaceutical health products industry has spent $216,134,421 on lobbying in 2018. As of October 24th.
if they had just, where's that money come from? It comes from high drug prices, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, like, if lobbying wasn't a thing and they weren't jacking up their prices to pay for all these fucking lobbying campaigns, I wonder if drugs would be a little cheaper.
And that's the thing. These guys, they wouldn't be paying all of this money for lobbying unless they were getting something out of it.
Many times that.
Yeah. So obviously.
All right. Okay. Let's. Okay. When we say who will build the roads, right? We know what that means, right? It's the government. It's the government paying a private company to do road maintenance.
Right. The government doesn't actually build fucking anything.
Exactly.
Ever.
Who will create the pills?
Right.
Yeah.
The government
It'll be the federal government
paying
somebody.
They're going to subsidize these exact same drug companies that have been gouging people to lobby the government.
Right. And you can't possibly tell me that these drug companies aren't also the ones pushing, like, hey, you should start a government-run thing for the generic drugs, and then it'll totally bring costs down.
This is, you know what? Obviously, the drug companies are behind this, and the drug lobbies behind this, because government contracts are where the fucking money is at, people. I mean, defense contractors fucking know this.
What happened?
They want government fucking contracts.
What happened when the government got involved in second level education?
Yeah,
with FAFSA and student loans and grants.
Gosh, it was so expensive for education, so the government should step in here to make it cheaper. And by make it cheaper, I mean that now it's going to increase like 800% or something.
Yeah. Now people are still paying off student loans into their fucking 40s. Okay,
Yep.
Like before, you could work for a few years and save up and go to school on that for a couple of years. But now people are paying back student loans well into their 40s, and it's a fucking mortgage payment essentially.
Yeah, and look at what that is doing to our strip club industry. It is just destroying, because now you have people in their 40s going out to strip to work their way through medical school, and that ain't pretty, man. That ain't pretty.
Traumatizing a whole new generation of young men.
Exactly. What are we doing? What are we doing to our young people here?
Stop subsidizing.
Think of the children, damn it. Okay. What this boils down to is everything the government touches not only turns into shit, but it turns into fucking expensive shit.
How much, Andrew? How much was the government paying per Colt M4? What was
per gun? I want to say they're actually coming in, and this is after 50 years of development and improvement, and what should have brought the cost. I think it comes out to like $4,800, $4,900 per gun, pretty easily, but at a production cost for the companies that are making them of like $400 a gun.
Yeah, what's a Colt LE like 920 sell for? What's it like $900 or like $1,100, something like that?
It comes in. It's got to, because like a comparable weapon with the same from Colt, so same manufacturer, probably almost the exact same roll marks and everything else, set you back $850, maybe $900 at most. And in my opinion, that's still overpaying for that thing. Like, it's not.
And I can tell you that back in 2003, the government was paying for Dell desktop computers, right? Like the tower, the monitor, the key, like all the peripherals and whatever. One that you would maybe have back then paid $700 for, right? The government was paying $3,200 for each one of those.
For like the most generic. Friggin'
yeah, and they didn't even have like graphics cards or anything. Yeah,
government contracts.
Yeah, Because that's how I fucked my backup, was moving those things around. Had all the old heavy like Sun Microsystem shit that they were fucking replacing.
It's
all the hubs and routers and shit like that.
That's the same thing that happened under Obamacare. Like the government started subsidizing healthcare. It started handing out government contracts through the expansion of Medicaid and Medicare. And what happened to the cost of healthcare and health insurance? It went up, right? The same with education. The same with the defense industry.
But nobody
the same
ever
with
fucking
the
wants
road
to hear
maintenance.
it. Nobody wants to fucking hear it. All people care is that they're fucking covered now. They have insurance. Okay, what's your fucking deductible? How much do you pay out of pocket every year before your insurance even starts picking anything up?
My dad's deductible.
The insurance companies wrote. What was that?
I said my dad's deductible last year was more than his rent.
Jesus.
Wow. That's why he doesn't have health care. He pays cash for his prescriptions.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy, man. Yeah, well, I was gonna say they admitted that the insurance companies pretty much wrote that shit, the Affordable Health Care Act.
Of course they did. Just like the fucking drug companies wrote this shit.
Well, yeah, who else would write a law that says you have to pay for a product? You're legally obligated. But the people who sell the freaking product, man.
That wasn't fucking obvious enough to the rest of America, though. For some stupid reason.
Can you imagine? I mean, another industry doing that? Like,
yeah. I mean, when you boil it down to like meat and potatoes terms, it's like pretty much the drug dealers like writing the fucking rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that.
It's like here's money. Pass this.
Well, imagine that like Ford, Chevy, and Chrysler all get together and they lobby the government to pass a law that everyone has to buy a pickup truck. Every house in America has to own a pickup truck.
A domestic.
Yeah, a domestically built pickup truck. Well, automatically, of course, everyone's going to know they wrote that because they're the ones who make them. Yep. Right. So now they're going to make all this money. And imagine how offended people are going to be because it's going to be so transparent and so obvious. But somehow magically, when it's the insurance companies writing a law that says that you have to buy their product, no one notices?
Like, because of the uninsured, because all the fucking sob stories they can pull up of people that weren't insured and died because they couldn't get the proper treatment.
But they don't talk about all the thousands of people that die because of what.
And you bet your ass the pickup truck lobby will have fucking sob stories about people in Priuses, people in fucking Priuses that were killed in pileups. You know, I mean, some stupid shit like that.
Well, to be fair,
I mean, we can talk about what is it? The Chevy Volt was the one that, like the government ordered as part of the bailout of GM. The government ordered GM to put out this electric vehicle, the Chevy Volt, and it came out and it was like.
It was like exploding.
Yeah, it was like $45,000 to purchase or something like that. Yeah. When in actuality it cost like $60,000 to produce, and the government was subsidizing.
Yeah, and if you bought one, you got a $25,000 tax credit.
Yeah, you got $25,000. That's if you lived, because the batteries would blow up.
Yeah, I mean, self-immolation isn't really a quality I look for in a vehicle, but I mean, right. Sunroof, AC, stereo. Sets itself on fire. Well, that's cool.
Let's look at this example. It's a good example because Chevy has been making decent vehicles for a long fucking time that are reliable and people love them. Get the government involved one fucking time in the production process.
The Tibet. The Tibet protest edition.
Yeah.
It only comes in orange, but boy, I tell you what, that's
yeah. It only comes in Bunsen burner.
But that's why didn't they just call it the Fiero?
The Fuego, the Chevy Fuego.
But that's the thing though, is compare the Volt, which is largely government mandated vehicle, with the Prius, with as much as I absolutely, utterly despise that thing with the very fiber of my soul. Compared to both of them, the Prius was built by a private company that decided they wanted to do this and then put their effort into it and made it work. And it works. And it works really, really well.
Yeah, and people who drive them really love them, and they get to be fucking snobby about, like, you know, saving the environment and shit.
It's a Prius, not a Tesla.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
People who drive Priuses.
It's mid-level snobbiest.
Well, but I mean, you wouldn't know that because they, like, people who drive Priuses, typically they either do like CrossFit or they're vegans. So like
asked to speak to the manager.
Yeah, so like they've got like many levels of like snobbery built in.
No, this is so funny because both my sister and my mom own Priuses.
Nice. I think like what it is that they like secretly want to commit fucking silent vehicular manslaughter, because it's like I've seen people drive fucking Priuses like flying around town and it's like they're mad quiet.
So
if you weren't paying attention, you get fucking wailed.
Here we see the Prius in its natural habitat, hunting its prey silently.
I'm a big girl. I'm a big girl. I dare some motherfucker in a Prius to run into me.
That would be like so pathetic. Like I wouldn't even want that shit like in the newspaper. I'd be like,
yeah, like please don't tell anyone. Please, for the love of God.
My man is damaged.
I'm saying I don't think a Prius has the balls to actually fucking kill me.
While they're not Priuses. You guys know what smart cars are?
I mean, like I feel like a Prius could sprain my ankle probably.
The little tiny smart cars.
Yeah.
There's a thing in San Francisco, like people buy them, like because it's a big city and all that. Parking's really hard and all that good stuff, but people buy them. It's a thing in San Francisco for people to walk up and flip over smart cars.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
like cow tipping.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, like cow tipping.
Urban cow tipping.
Urban cow tipping.
Yes.
Fucking sweet.
You know, we saw it today, and I was trying to figure out what the hell it was. It turned out it's a BMW of all things. It is the weirdest looking hybrid I've seen in a long time. Like I could not figure out what the hell this thing was. It's got like two main doors and then like these two like half doors with like a half circle window in them. Is really, really weird. Turns out it's actually BMW's new hybrid.
Oh, shit.
And it's actually kind of nifty. And I think, if memory serves, it's actually that car's hybrid system that they use in the i8 supercar.
Oh, shit.
So it's like really weird, but it looks bizarre. But I mean, like that again, private company that built this thing of their own accord. They decided, hey, there's a market for this, and so they put research into it, and it works, and it doesn't explode. And
I think that's a good segue to the ocean thing, Jason.
We can do that. We can do that, and then we can get into the house in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm really curious on how this actually connects the ocean thing with an.
Well, it's Derica's article. She can bring it up.
Well, it's not. It wasn't even an article. It was the website for the company, and I guess we could put the link down.
Yeah, it's 4 ocean.com.
Right. So there's this. It's like a company, and they're actually cleaning up the oceans. You know how like the government says they want to reduce pollution, so they like fucking ban straws and they fucking tax people and shit.
The PSAs that cost them $300.
Right.
Yeah.
So but this company,
OPR, it's ocean plastic recovery.
Right. So this company is selling bracelets. If you want to I mean, like if you're into like feeling real good about yourself, like veganism, CrossFit, this shit's right up your fucking alley if you drive a Prius.
Yeah, little
hippie fucking
hippie
bracelet. Right? You want to save the world.
Yeah.
You want to save the ocean. Buy one of those bracelets. It's guaranteed that bracelet. They removed a pound of trash from the ocean to make that bracelet.
Nice.
So they're harvesting materials from the ocean, which is all the fucking bullshit humans have dumped into the oceans. They're pulling it back out because, hey, it's finders keepers at this point. So they're pulling it back out and they're fucking turning it into jewelry that people can buy if they want to save the fucking planet.
Yeah.
Just what I need, radioactive jewelry.
It's not.
This one's from Fukushima. I think I'm growing another hand, but it looks cool.
My sixth finger is fucking coming in nicely.
Hey, one out of every 100,000 people is guaranteed to get a superpower.
Right.
Hey, you know what? I like
those are better. Hey, those are better odds than we had before.
Hey, that is worth spending $20 on a bracelet.
Yeah.
But the website says
the guys who do combat flip flops also do something similar with mines, with removal of mines and stuff privately. So
nice.
Mines.
Cool.
Yeah, like landmines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to take the sandals off?
No. If you ever take the sandals, boom. No. The sandals aren't made out of the.
Like they remove them, they disarm them, they recycle them.
Yeah, they recycle them into jewelry. They actually melt down the casings of the mines and turn them into like bomb-shaped like pendants to put on necklaces and stuff. And
that'd be more badass than radioactive Fukushima bracelet. I
like Jason's idea best.
Yeah.
Never take them off.
Never take it off.
The Darwin edition by Thomas Footwear. According to the Four Ocean website, they have removed 2,571,344 pounds of trash from ocean and coastlines.
Look at that. And how much has the government removed? Probably fucking none.
They probably actually wound up dumping more in there.
Oh, the US government's one of the biggest fucking polluters of the ocean that there is. I promise you.
Count on that.
And they're fucking making money doing it. It's a win-win because people who want to feel self-righteous can buy their fucking jewelry and then tell everybody where they got their bracelet, just like they tell everybody that they don't eat meat, and just like they tell everybody that they fucking do keto or CrossFit or what.
At least she died doing what she loved, telling everyone she was a vegan.
Right.
Shark.
So, I mean, I'd buy one of those bracelets. Just
$20.
Get a little, $20. Get a little trash out of the ocean.
I live near the ocean. I see the trash on the beach line, and I see it in the river. So yeah, I know it'll do good. So $20. I mean, if I get cancer or if I get a superpower, either way.
Well, I mean, I'll buy one and then I'll just like hang it on the wall because I don't know if I want to wear it. But
I'd wear it. I'm in California. I'm gonna get cancer anyway.
Right.
Yeah, all those things that can give you cancer in California, but nowhere else. I mean,
right.
Yeah. Literally everything in California will give you cancer.
Well, California is cancer. So.
I was gonna say
that's not true. That's not true because cancer is treatable every once in a while.
This is true.
Well, and like cancer, you could eventually get rid of it with sufficient radiation.
Right.
Go
Fukushima.
True.
We do have some nuclear power plants in California.
Yeah,
and they are in tsunami zones.
Because where else would you put something that could potentially kill the planet, but in a place where it's not only going to get earthquakes, but also tsunamis? That seems like
the Ring of Fire. That's the perfect place for something like that.
Let's totally do that.
They have like all the nuclear plants on the fucking San Madrid fault line, like the middle of the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant.
New Madrid.
New Madrid. There you go.
Yeah, we get earthquakes here from that every so often. They're usually like a 1.0 kind of thing, but we do get them. And they are weird.
Laughs in Californian.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, like there's that picture after the last one where somebody literally all that had happened is one of their plastic lawn chairs had tipped over backwards. And they took a picture and they're like, earthquake, like 2017, we will rebuild.
Right.
There was the one that while we were at work.
Yeah, the one while we were at work was weird.
Because we could feel it up on the 7th floor, but nobody on the ground could feel it.
Nobody down below could feel it, but if you were up in the buildings, you could feel
the
building.
flex and the
It was really bizarre because I'm like, I'm in Wisconsin, like I'm literally right on the Mississippi River here. What the hell is happening?
Imagine being in one of those skyscrapers in Tokyo during the fucking one when they had what was it 8 point something.
And Alaska, they had the 7. You saw what it did to the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nuts. But you know what? Alaskans were out there fixing that shit, and they got it done. Like within a week.
No, less than a week, like 4 days.
Yeah, right. Well, I said within.
Yeah.
That is technically correct.
Yes, technically I was right. I couldn't remember the exact, so I just kind of went with a ballpark.
All right, so speaking of California and cancer.
This could be a segue to fucking anything. You're gonna have to be more specific, Jason.
I love this. I love this
Speaking
article.
of Florida and mental illness. Like
San Francisco orders property owner to
Speaking of Florida and bath salts.
San Francisco orders property owner to build exact replica of demolished home.
Oh yeah, this shit.
Exact replica.
Yeah, because they deemed his home like a fucking historical landmark or some shit.
Yeah. San Francisco city officials have a hard time letting go of the past, so they ordered a man to rebuild a 1930s home he demolished, restoring it exactly as is.
Even though it had been renovated like every 10 years or some shit like that ever since it was built.
Yeah, back in late 2017, Ross Johnston tore down a 2-story house he owned in the city's Twin Peaks neighborhood, intending to build a larger home on the same home site. The destruction of the home, known as the Largent House, and designed by former architect Richard Neutra back in the 1930s, angered neighbors who bemoaned the loss of a historic building. It also pissed off city officials who had issued permits for the house to be subsequently redesigned, not demolished in its entirety.
Which, again, I mean, just to reiterate here, he has to build an exact replica of the house because he tore down instead of significantly redesigning it, which they had already signed off on.
Well, if you ask me, demolition and rebuilding is a significant fucking design. Okay.
Yeah. The difference under California law, you can renovate your home as long as you leave one wall standing from the original home. So you can remove
government.
You can literally tear down the entire house, and as long as you leave one wall that is original, it's a renovation. But if you tear down that other wall, it becomes a new home build, and then you have to get like environmental studies and all this other BS.
Okay, so what you do is you leave one wall.
Are you sure it's not retardation?
So like you leave one wall and you rebuild the whole house.
Yes.
Then you get another permit to renovate, and you leave all the other walls and just tear down that wall and fucking rebuild it.
Yeah. The city's planning commission made what the San Francisco Chronicle is calling, quote, an unprecedented decision. In a 5-0 vote, it ordered Johnson to build an exact replica of the house he destroyed, save for the addition of a new plaque explaining the details of the home's demolition and reconstruction.
Oh, Jesus.
I hope he told them, fuck you, make me.
Right?
Cool.
Yeah, that would be my response. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, the fact that it was a unanimous vote would send a message to everyone that is playing fast and loose that the game is over, said Supervisor Aaron Piskin. Quote, we want to preserve iconic historic structures, but more importantly, we want to protect our reservoir of more affordable housing stock.
Yeah, our reservoir of more affordable housing.
I know. I almost shit myself when I read that part of the article. I was fucking laughing so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The demolition of
historic... Don't shit yourself shit on the street at San Francisco.
Yeah. and leave your needle in the gutter.
Yeah, right.
And you can walk around naked and sit your fucking
straw.
You can
don't
sit
use
your
a straw.
naked asshole on the fucking trolleys all you want as long as you have shoes on. Right.
The demolition of historic homes in San Francisco has become increasingly controversial in the rapidly changing city. Many take issue with the loss of historic buildings and with what they see as rank profiteering by developers who can make a tidy profit replacing older buildings with larger, more modern homes. Peskin
it's not their fucking business what people do with their own goddamn property.
Well, and it's hilarious because San Francisco is, and they admitted, in the middle of a housing crisis. And so their response is, well, we don't want anybody to make money by helping the housing crisis.
Right. We
like,
don't want to buy that property, but we're going to still control what you do with it. Fuck you. If you want to preserve this building, buy the motherfucker yourself.
Right? It goes even deeper. Like the city of San Francisco is in fucking insane when it comes to housing. Like,
yeah,
there's people that own lots in the city, and they want to build like affordable housing. Like they want to build high-rise buildings that would be apartments for low-income people, right? Like it was all planned. The guy had all the funding for it. He had all the permits for it, and then the city said no because his neighbors sued and said that it would alter the sunset and the cityscape from his windows.
Yep. They always use that excuse.
Good God.
Yes, like the city needs affordable housing. Oh, the guy wants to build an apartment building. Oh, this guy says it will alter the cityscape. We better go with the guy that says it will alter the cityscape.
I feel like
it's like, yeah, it's gonna fucking alter the cityscape. I'm building a fucking high rise, assholes. Like, what?
Yeah. Not even really like a high rise. Like I think that the guy had plans for like a 6-story building or something like that.
Are we that surprised though? I mean, isn't this the precinct that keeps fucking electing Nancy Pelosi? For fuck's sake.
Among other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that says a lot right there. But I mean, that's the thing though, is like, I posted in response to that article, or I made that meme with the evil Kermit with we're in the middle of a housing crisis. We need affordable housing for people, and go ahead and interfere with affordable housing and improvements to our situation in the name of misguided nostalgia.
Right.
But if you looked at that house, there is nothing interesting. This isn't the house on the rock. This isn't like a super unique, significant structure. It's like a box with a wood box.
Yeah,
and it's not like it dates back to the gold rush era and it's super fucking historical or anything like that. I mean,
1930s, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even 100 years old.
Architecturally, there is nothing very pleasing about this house.
There's a place almost exactly like that for sale on the Potomac River right over here, and it's fucking ugly. Yeah. Yeah, and it's been on the market forever because nobody fucking wants it.
And I think that's a Prius.
I actually agree.
Yeah, I think
it is. Yeah. There it is.
I bet they're vegans.
Yep. And CrossFitters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Runs up to the ice cream.
And they use essential oils.
Yeah.
The bigger picture on the article head, it's definitely a Prius.
Nice. Look at my shocked face.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing too, is like it's just a square, uninteresting white building with an awfully narrow garage,
and there's no way at all that we could keep the history and let people know about this house unless we keep the house, right? There's no way that we could have like pictures or the internet or video or somebody can make a book about it. Wait, like we can't do any of that.
People can do those things?
You can take pictures of things? Oh my god. What?
No, not if they got torn down after you took the picture, because
then the picture will go away.
Well, it's like in Back to the Future when he has that picture of himself.
When he starts to fade in the picture.
He starts to fade out of the picture.
And then his hand starts messing up while he's playing guitar.
Right. That's right. His hand starts going through the guitar because he ceases to exist. Yeah.
That's just, oh man. Because they do that here in La Crosse. We have these signs all over the place that talk about houses that used to exist on that location and give you history. Hey, this place used to be here, and like the one for the old high school for where Central used to be it's a park now and has been for a while, but the plaque actually has it's all brass, but it's got a drawing on it of what the building looked like, so that you can see, okay, this was this building, this was here's the history of it, blah blah blah. And that's perfectly freaking acceptable. Like,
I have a historical marker on my fucking property because John Wilkes Booth ran across my property when he was running from the feds.
Because an angry unemployed actor visited once.
Because there used to be a driveway there. There used to be a driveway there, and he was running up to the old farmhouse. I mean,
woo, historical! You can't tear your house down now.
Well, yeah, and we have a lot of historical Register of National Historic Places houses here because a lot of the lumber barons built really, really big homes here in La Crosse.
And they're gorgeous.
And they are beautiful, absolutely beautiful Victorians. They're enormous. There's one that looks like a castle.
Yeah.
That one actually is up for sale again. But there are all these houses, and they're all on the National Register of Historic Places. And even though they'll bring the price way, way down, no one will buy them because you can't change anything.
Right.
You can't change it. You're not legally allowed to repaint. You're not allowed to refinish. You're not allowed to move the driveway. None of that.
Yep. And over here, they all get turned into museums. Like, I live 20 minutes from the house that Mary Washington, lived in Fredericksburg. And I'm like 15 minutes from Ferry Farm where George Washington grew up and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you can't shake a stick here without hitting something fucking historical.
Well, yeah, it's Virginia.
Yeah. So, I mean, San Francisco has way too fucking high an opinion of itself, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
It's fucking liberals, man.
They do.
Yeah.
It's worse than liberals. I mean, it's we talked or Andrew and I talked about this on Liberty Under Attack the other day with Shane Radcliffe and Paul Gordon, where we talked about the culture of something. And that word's so overused, but what we talked about was the culture of defense and the culture of freedom. Like you have to create you have to create a desire for freedom in a society in order to actually have freedom. Well, right. San Francisco is the exact opposite. They have created a culture of dependence. They have created a culture of liberalism and socialism and
collectivism
and big government and collectivism and
I would attribute it all to collectivism because I mean you can't tear down that house. It's ruining the aesthetic that we're accustomed to.
You can't
on the street corner.
You literally cannot get more. You really literally cannot get more collectivist than other people being able to say what you can or cannot do on your own property.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
It's friggin' ridiculous. I mean, there's that article too the other day that came out with that video where that guy's neighbor was complaining about the fact that he dealt in farm machinery and stuff, and the county even allowed the complaining neighbor to go in to document on this guy's property all of the stuff that was code violations or zoning violations and stuff. Jesus. Allowed him, the whiny little bitch that lives next to him,
that doesn't work for the county and doesn't know every fucking code there is.
Yeah, they gave him a camera and sent him with a sheriff to protect him onto this guy's property. The guy's literally been dealing in old farm equipment and stuff for something like 60 years on that property. This dude bought the property next door and within 3 weeks took it to the county to complain.
Wow. Jesus.
Like, what a busybody piece of crap.
That's such a liberal thing to do. Oh my god.
Yeah, like, oh, I just moved in here. I don't like it. Well, they're doing that here in La Crosse all the time where you see that.
It's not my property, but it's an eyesore from my property, so it's my fucking business. Bitch, no, it's not.
Yeah, right.
You know who was there when you bought that fucking property. Shut your goddamn mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Avert your eyes,
shit.
ho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Build the wall. You don't want to see it, build a fucking wall.
That's why I love all those spite properties, like the little tiny houses that get built just to annoy the living crap out of the neighbors.
The whole concept of spite houses is just one of my favorite things ever. I fucking love that shit.
You literally spent $1 million to build like this ultra narrow, like
a
4 foot wide house.
Wedge of a house on the one sliver of property your ex-husband gave you to be a dick when he was supposed to give you. And it's amazing. I love it. I love spite houses. It's so good.
We need more spite houses and more 600-pound carved middle fingers that light up.
That thing is beautiful.
Oh yes. Oh
more pettiness for entertainment.
Yeah.
Hell, motherfucking yeah.
Well, it's petty.
Because the more we have, the more it will encourage.
Yeah. Well, and it's petty and everything, but
each other every which way.
I mean, think about think about though what kind of a culture that creates though. If more people are doing that and are giving literal middle fingers to town councils and doing all those things, it's going to encourage everybody else to go fuck you to the town councils and say, no, I'm not going to do that, and no, I don't care what you have to say. Yeah. And it's going to alter steadily.
People
more
are going to be like,
courage is
people
contagious.
are going to look at it and go,
absolutely.
Oh, I could tell them to go fuck themselves. What are they going to do? Like, if we all tell them to go fuck themselves, what can they do about it? Exactly. Fucking bingo, right there. That's the answer.
So, yep. All right. Since Andrew brought it up, we'll just jump into that other article.
Cool.
Wisconsin County pays $90,000 to settle claim over arrest executed with surplus military vehicle. This is out of the Journal Sentinel, posted the other day. It says a 79-year-old Wisconsin man who was arrested when 24 deputies brought an armored vehicle to his home to enforce a civil judgment has settled his civil rights claim against Marathon County for $90,000. Law enforcement show of force at Roger Hopener's home in 2014 made national news after it was reported by the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. The use of a military-style vehicle in particular drew attention in the wake of similar trucks being deployed by police in cities like Ferguson, Missouri during clashes with demonstrators protesting the shooting of an unarmed man. Hopener owed the town of Stettin outside Washoe more than $80,000 in accumulated fines and penalties over his storage of pallets and equipment on his property. He had been found
on his property. Let's say that one more time.
Yeah, he had been found in contempt by a judge for missing deadlines to clean up the property.
Fuck you, it's my property.
Right. Officials defended the number of deputies and the use of surplus military truck because of Hopener's long-running dispute with the town and his son's pantomiming a gunshot during an earlier encounter at their home.
Because he went in and looked at him and went,
yeah.
And we're going to have to bring a tank.
Hopener wound up arrested, taken to his bank, and ordered to withdraw $80,000 to avoid deputies and tow companies taking the equipment on his property. Last year, he sued the town, its chairman, the county, and several sheriff's officials, claiming the violation of his Fourth and First Amendment rights. The town defendants were dismissed from the case against the county, and various deputies had been scheduled for trial when it was settled in late October.
I wouldn't have settled. Yeah. I'd fucking stick it to those motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that area around Wausau is really very like back the blue and very
absolutely.
Nothing blue line.
U.S. District Judge Deborah Crabb dismissed Hopener's claim that decision to enforce the civil judgment with so many deputies and the armored vehicle was unreasonable, but said his claims that he was arrested without probable cause and that deputies violated his First and Fourth Amendment rights when they seized his phone and camera should go to a jury.
Yeah. So it was a civil. Okay. It was a civil judgment, not a criminal judgment, but they treated him like a fucking criminal.
Yeah, like a goddamn terrorist.
Yeah.
They did.
They dragged him to the bank and forced him to withdraw extortion money for them. They treated him like they were the fucking mob.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's
that is a Bearcat.
The armored vehicle that they used. Bearcat with a turret on top. And you can see in the background there, it's pallets.
Yeah.
Like that was.
Oh my God.
Because clearly you should be scared of that guy.
Yeah. I've driven past that property. I don't even know how many times.
Yeah.
Government is the best funded, most well organized crime syndicate. Okay? Mm-hmm. In any given locale. The local crime syndicate is the fucking local government. Mm-hmm. Like, how did any of them think that taking him and forcing him essentially at gunpoint to withdraw money from his account to give to them. It's literal fucking armed robbery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's Jesus Christ.
Kidnap and ransom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what that was, too.
Yeah.
Exactly what that was.
24 police and the Bearcat because the son pantomimed shooting a shotgun, shooting a rifle.
Let's talk about $80,000 in fines because he didn't clean up pallets
on his land,
fucking property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, that guy, he sells them. That's what he does. That's why they're all stacked up there, because he buys and sells them. So yeah, that's why they're there. Like, oh gee, he's running a freaking business. Like, it's not like he's just a hoarder. He's selling these.
Right.
Well, I'm a little surprised they didn't bring the National Guards, because I mean,
the armory's right there.
The armory's right there. I am really surprised that the military didn't show.
But the cops here in Wisconsin love their Bearcat.
Yeah.
They love their Bearcats so much. They will pull those things out because we got a ton of them.
To be fair,
that's because they're all fucking washouts from the fucking military. They couldn't hack it, so they ended up in cop school.
Yeah.
So now they want to play soldier with fucking used military equipment.
Well, yeah, and the Bearcats isn't even truly military equipment. It was designed from the ground up for SWAT teams and police.
Right. Okay. But I mean, it looks like.
Oh yeah, it looks hardcore.
Right. And that's what I'm getting at. They want to feel hardcore. That's a good.
Yeah. Well, and
suburbs of Wausau certainly need SWAT.
Oh yeah, Wausau, the town whose main claim to fame is the fact that if you manage to mistakenly drive to the mall, you will never get out of the town because all of the roads lead to and surround the mall. So you just go in circles, and you're like, oh no, that's the mall again.
There is Chubby.
Oh yeah, there's Chubby.
Yeah. 25 days after the incident, he received a $249 ticket for disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
They had to pay for the gas.
Yeah, it was the gas for the Bearcat. They're like, crap, we used a bunch of gas here. That's
Jesus. Don't you just love it though, how they can treat you like in a subhuman fashion, and you have to keep your cool. And you have to be courteous, and you can't struggle at all. Even if they're fucking hurting you, you can't react. You can't
stop resisting.
Do anything, or they'll fucking charge you with something else.
Well, yeah, and that the last time that a Bearcat got rolled out in Wisconsin was much closer to us. It was in Viroqua, and between Viroqua and Lafarge, and it was an impressive piece of resistance from that guy. He owed the county a bunch of taxes, refused to pay, so they wanted to evict him. He refused to leave, and they basically said, no, come and get me. And so they showed up with a Bearcat, and the Bearcat actually wound up on display in our town hall because everyone was so impressed that it withstood what he threw at it. And we're talking like large caliber rifles and shotguns, homemade grenades. He just tore it apart. I mean, there were chunks of steel missing from the armor plate from rounds. It was great. The guy stood out for like several hours just unloading, held all of these cops down. They actually wound up having to call in local National Guard to assist.
Jesus.
And it was like one dude who's like in his 60s up on this hill.
The guy's kind of my hero now, like a little bit. Like that's dedication. Awesome. Not necessarily because I think he was smart or what, but that's fucking dedication. That guy was fucking committed.
That's right up there with Killdozer Commission. Dedication is what I mean.
Yeah. There you go.
But they don't like it. They don't like it when you turn the tables on them. Oh, you better not do that.
Of course not.
You better not treat them the way they treat you, because that makes you a bad person.
And the article.
You gotta call in the National Guard for one dude. Imagine if you had a fucking dozen people like that.
Can you imagine if like every American gun owner got fucking fed up?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
If they actually try to pull Wisconsin's gun, that's gonna be a bad day.
Well, then they lob in tear gas and drive a tank through your house.
Yeah, and then burn you and the children alive.
Yep.
Yeah, and then blame you for it.
Good times.
Yep.
Okay. Barbecue. In the article about the ticket, Officer Chad Baleb says in the video of what Hoppner finally exited his home after the arrival of the armored vehicle, quote, "He was not happy with our presence, and based on that, he was handcuffed and removed from the scene."
Yeah,
he was mad that you drove an armored car onto his property and threatened him with guns.
A civil judgment.
You didn't like our presence.
Yeah. God, yeah, I can't imagine
being there. Well, like all we were doing was sitting there threatening to fucking kill him because of the pallets in his yard.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Oh, here's yeah. The Wasu Daily Herald also posted a sheriff's dash cam recording of when Hoppner was first handcuffed and put in the squad car. Through the view, though the view was inside, or the view. Though the view is out of the windshield, you can hear Hoppner talking with various deputies over the next 40 minutes until they agree to take him to the bank to get $80,000 to satisfy the civil judgment.
Literal fucking armed robbery by syndicate thugs. For real. For real. If you try that without a fucking shiny piece of metal on your chest, you're a big time fucking criminal.
Yeah.
Why do they get to get away with it just because they wear a special fucking costume? You know, it's
just following orders.
Okay, sheriff deputies had concerns because they claimed to have gotten an anonymous report that someone heard Scott Hoppner say in a bar that he planned to take a gun to the town board meeting and shoot the chairman.
Bullshit.
Who
they
with
always
a permit
have a
carries
anonymous tip.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah. All right.
It was Cletus the deputy from the other fucking room calling them on his cell phone, giving them an anonymous fucking tip.
Yeah.
And in that small town, there is no anonymous at all.
Somebody knows who said
Somebody knows who said it, and honestly, he probably didn't say that at the bar.
He might have said that. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
He might have. But even if he did, like, he didn't actually do it. So, you know, like, who cares?
His dispute with the town officials over old tractors and pallets on his property goes back nearly 8 years. So that was 8 years before the arrest. So now we're at like 12 years now.
Oh, look how tolerant they were, and he still didn't fucking bow to their whims. He deserved it for being so disruptive to the community and so defiant of their authority.
How dare he run a business on his property in a manner unapproved of by the Crown?
And not even the Crown, unapproved of by his neighbors who thought it was an eyesore and complained,
What's funny, though, is his neighbors probably didn't give a shit. It was probably
the one did. The one did.
The one did. But like the rest of the community probably didn't give a shit, and that one person happens to have money. Because that's how our small towns work.
Well, that's how
or there's another way. Or they're the town bore-ass that the police don't want to fucking deal with again, and they're sick of hearing from them.
That's also fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you get a lot of those. They're like, oh, for
you
God's
do. In
sake.
small towns, you do. You get fucking busybodies. People that they just annoy people into submission. They just fucking annoy you into submission. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's a common thing in small towns and in my household. Just saying.
Okay, here it is. In April 2013, the judge entered a final judgment that imposed a $500 a day fine against Hoppner for not adhering to the original May 2011 order and granting the town's legal fees. Hoppner appealed but lost a March ruling, so by October 2nd, he owed the town about $80,000 according to court records.
So he owed the town $80,000.
Owed the town $80,000 according to court records, and the town of Sutherland obtained a writ of execution to collect without notice to Hoppner or his attorney.
So they got quote unquote permission to go rob this guy, legal permission to go rob him, without even warning him.
You know, I mean, like we all know, all you have to do to get away with doing bad things is write that it's okay for you to do it.
Yeah, you just got to put it on a piece of paper, and
you just need like at least one other person to sign it, because then you have a we, right?
Yeah.
You have like a democracy.
And the thing is, this is all without notice to him. Like even loan sharks warn you,
Right.
Even loan sharks, they're like, dude, seriously, you need to pay up or I'm going to send somebody.
And break your kneecaps.
Yeah, they'll break your kneecaps. They didn't even give him the same level of courtesy that an actual loan shark would.
Like, here you go. Oh, this is This is from another article. It's linked in the article that I linked in the description. But so in an interview, he said he wanted to address what he felt was the town's unfair focus on his property, when there are dozens of others arguably in violation of the town's zoning, which is all agricultural/residential. He also felt...
Oh, don't do that, man. Come on.
He also felt that Wasn't, that's the city councilman, had a vendetta against him and a, quote, my way or the highway style of running the town.
Yep.
He described...
like almost every other fucking town in this nation.
He described deputies with guns drawn walking around his garage. Asked if he was, as the sheriff's captain described him, argumentative, Hopner admitted that he was probably, quote, hostile, though not threatening when he was confronted with a writ. Quote, the $86,000 figure is enough to shock most men, he said, and they wanted it now, today. He said the town later agreed to $6,000 less because it wouldn't have to pay for hauling away his other equipment to sell. Hopner's estimate that in all, his battle with the town cost him about $200,000, a retirement fund he, quote, worked very hard to accumulate. In addition, he said his arrest the day the armored truck appeared upset his wife so much she had to be taken to the hospital for a few hours.
That doesn't surprise me either.
They're walking around with drawn guns. What did they think was going to happen?
Yeah, well, were they expecting? Oh, he wasn't happy with their president. Did you expect him to come out to the tank and guys with M4s and go, "How y'all doing?"
I have a movie quote for this.
He's lucky. They're lucky they got out of there alive.
Yeah, because most of the people I know would have come out with their shotguns.
Guns blazing.
Television is the reason for this. You see, there's some bad television.
Yeah.
Little assault guys dropping out of the ceiling.
Yeah, that. I didn't.
James Bond shit never happens in real life.
Yeah, no one. You and your fucking rope.
Yeah, we just watched that the other night. Like, probably Christmas.
What do you need a rope for, Rambo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that right, Rambo?
That's it too. It's just these cops. Most of them are either former military,
or they wanted to be, and they could have made the cut.
And worse, they're military trained.
Right.
They're trained by ex members or ex IDF. That's another big one.
And they're jacked up on their own fucking authority, and they're bored, and they're looking for a way to release all this aggression.
And they buy into this bullshit war on cops.
Yep.
They actually believe that shit.
Well, and look at how many of these cops are running around with like Punisher skulls.
They don't realize they've been waging war on the people forever.
Yeah.
So
that's what happened. That's what happens when federal courts rule that police do not have to hire IQ individuals.
Yeah.
Or they're not obligated to protect you.
Yeah, and they're not obligated to protect you at all. Which is why I always laugh so hard about people when they're like, "Oh, the cops are there to protect you." Well, it's funny because every court ruling ever on it says exactly the opposite. No, they're not. They're not there to protect you at all.
Plus, they have a right to fucking pull you over and take your drugs and your money, civil asset forfeiture, and then they have access to all the evidence rooms. You know these assholes are all fucking jacked up on coke. You fucking know they are. And not only that, but fucking HCG and you know, and steroids and shit like that. I mean, cops are some of the biggest fucking drug users in this fucking country.
Yeah, look at how many of them are running around with the flat tops, and they're all huge muscles that it's like, all right, so you're definitely roid raging, got it, and then
and they take the shit that makes them aggressive.
I mean, what is it like? 40% of police officers have domestic violence cases against them, or domestic violence charges, or something like that.
Yeah, a full 40% are like either in the process of being convicted or actually convicted. of domestic violence.
Or they've had multiple charges that have been dropped because they're cops and they fucking circle the wagons around each other and their victims are just shit out of luck.
Yep.
My thin blue line.
Yep.
That's a pretty thick line.
Well, you know, it's ironic that flag is black and blue since 40% of their wives are too.
Yeah, I saw that. That was good stuff.
All right. I need a good laugh. You guys ready for a good laugh?
Yep.
College administrator asked students to remove "fuck Nazi" sign because it isn't inclusive.
Wait, say that again?
This fucking snake is eating its own ass and it's beautiful. It's swallowing its own. I love it.
All right. Lindsay. Okay. College administrator asked student to remove "fuck Nazi" sign because it isn't inclusive.
Isn't that great?
We need to be respectful of everyone's opinions.
And it makes even more sense that this happened in Massachusetts. Like, I'm just if you knew the history of the metal scene there in FSU, and it makes so much. A student at the University of Manchester, or student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, was asked to remove a quote "fuck Nazi" sign from her dorm window because it undermined quote the inclusive residential experience, which should serve as a compelling reminder that sensitive culture is slowly but surely morphing into an equal opportunity censor.
Yep.
The student, Nicole Parsons, hung the sign in early December after an unknown person drew a swastika on a door. Parsons thought the university wasn't doing enough to deter such behavior and decided to take matters into her own hands. A week later...
By making a sign and hanging it in her fucking window. The university's not doing enough, so I'm going to do fucking nothing other than write a couple of words.
Just hold on. This next paragraph. Okay. A week later, residence director Eddie Papazzoni, Papazoni, emailed Parsons to ask if she wouldn't mind removing the sign. Quote, "Though the sign is permitted under freedom of speech, I would also like to discuss the impact Though the sign is permitted under freedom of speech, I would also like to discuss the impact on the community that the sign has had. There are some in the community who have expressed that the sign should be taken down as it has created mixed emotions in the community on how to proceed, issues of inclusion, and the ability to be active members of the community."
I'm really confused on why we care if we're including Nazis and things.
Hold on. The email concluded with an explicit request that the sign be taken down, quote, "so that all students can be part of an exclusive residential experience."
Except for the people with varying opinions.
Right.
Parsons interpreted the remarks as the declaration that, quote, "the university cares more about the feelings of Nazis than the safety of their students."
Agreed.
The universities cared more about your feelings than actual safety.
Yeah.
Because they won't let you fucking open carry on campus. Because you fucking assholes are afraid of guns.
Well, I'm really confused about like how she was unsafe because someone drew a swastika, like one of the oldest symbols in the history of humanity. Like,
the Nazis fucking borrowed it. It doesn't. I mean, Jesus. But at any rate, even if the person meant it as fucking Nazi propaganda, how does it make you less safe? It's spray paint on a fucking door. It's not.
You know, a lot of the time that those swastikas are spray painted somewhere, it tends to be Jewish people.
Really?
There's like a lot of reports. Yeah, there's
other
a lot
SGWs
of happening.
Yep. There's a lot of them here, but they're painted. They're the wrong way.
I'm not saying every one is done by a Jewish person, but they do it a lot to like garner sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's articles of them being caught doing it.
It doesn't actually surprise me.
Well, yeah, it's like that couple that like made national news because supposedly their two incredibly expensive SUVs were all spray painted. They couldn't. They didn't write out the racial slurs. Yeah, they didn't write it out correctly. They wrote it out as slang, and like none of their swastikas were correct or anything else. And everyone was like, "I'm pretty sure you did this yourself." They're like, no, we're being targeted. And then it turned out, no, they totally did it themselves.
Right. Those fucking spray paint cans were found in their fucking house.
Yeah, in their house. That's just... Oh, man. So, yeah, clearly, I mean, somebody that probably did it themselves, but now she's throwing this sign up that's expressing what I feel is really an okay attitude to have. I mean, we kind of fought like a world war over, you know, the whole Nazi question. But, like, it's... I mean, like, it's hilarious that, like, at this point now, we've gotten so bad about being inclusive that you can't even actually find something that's a dangerous ideology.
What I find the most hilarious is that she thought that the university wasn't doing enough. She thought she was taking matters in her own. She actually thought she was doing something
with a sign.
By putting a sign in her window.
Well, see, my whole thing is that, like, I don't think it should really be up to the power structure to, like, determine who's, like, included and who's excluded, because you get into dangerous territory there. I think it should be left up to the people to freely associate. Like, you know, if they don't like somebody because they have a different opinion, then it's up to them to, like, be like, okay, well,
absolutely. And that's the
that's like life.
Universities are being run like fucking kindergartens now.
Well, yeah, that's the last paragraph of this article says, if anything, the incident highlights the coercive power of residents administrators, who are the campus busybodies most directly involved in students' lives. Most universities have begun to reimagine the campus living space as a kind of classroom where students are taught to obey progressive social justice norms, especially those relating to language. I have repeatedly warned that the left, that souring on free speech and trusting authority figures to enforce virtue as defined by progressives is a game no one gets to win. Hypersensitive and risk-averse college administrators don't actually share their goals and likely never will.
Right. And these stupid motherfuckers that push this agenda of inclusiveness and tolerance when it benefits them, I'll tell you what, I've talked to people like this, and I swear to God, I fucking told them so. I said, you don't want to do that because that can be turned back around on you at any fucking time. You give people that kind of power over your neighbor, guess what? They have that kind of power over you. It's only a matter of time until they use it. And nobody fucking wants to listen. Nobody ever fucking wants to listen. And shit like this happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's goldfish mentality.
Yeah, well, and it's so ridiculous because it's just like, I mean, at this point, and I guarantee you that they don't, like, this girl is probably utterly shocked and dismayed at the fact that she was told that she's not allowed to be exclusionary in her speech. And that's exactly what just happened. All of this shit that she's probably also been spewing herself about, you know, we need to be able to suppress this and tell people what they can and can't say. And
why does she have a problem with Nazis? Because she thinks they're too exclusionary.
Exactly. And
exactly. That's the irony of it.
Yeah.
And so then she's like, nope, you're not being inclusive. What? Well, but they're being well. I mean, some people maybe agree with them, and now look at what you're doing, and we get to suppress speech as we want. So
they hate me, and I hate them, and they're not including me, and I don't want to include them. But God damn it, fucking make us all include each other. You're a moron. This is why voluntary association and disassociation are the only fucking things that make sense.
This is also why little socialist college kids need to read Kurt Vonnegut.
Yeah. Oh God, I can only imagine if you actually ran a college English course and did an entire unit on Vonnegut, like watching their heads just explode everywhere.
Harrison, an entire segment on Harrison Bergeron would just blow fucking minds.
They're handicapping everybody to make everybody equal. This is which is pretty much like what's going on today.
That's the only way that equality can be achieved, through external force and to the lowest common denominator. There's no other way to do it.
Well,
you can't raise everybody up to the fucking highest. No,
you can't.
Well, okay, let's get into this. We were talking again. We can go back to the culture thing on this one. And I don't mean the nationalist culture BS. I mean the culture of freedom versus the culture of servitude. When you have these colleges, when you have the push of progressivism and liberalism and socialism, things like that, and you can create and foster a culture of dependence, a culture of exclusivity, and a culture of self-censorship, the outliers show up so much worse. And the outliers, you know, humans are pack animals, right? Humans need human contact.
Social, I would say social animals.
Social animals, yeah. They need to be part of the group. Mm-hmm. And when you create an atmosphere of inclusivity and exclusivity, the outliers show up so much more, and it creates the desire for them to be included. So they will censor themselves. They will lie to themselves. They will become good little programmed robots. And those people, the emotionally retarded, the mentally stunted, are a hell of a lot easier to control than people that think for themselves, that act for themselves, and have a culture of individuality or a culture of freedom.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why you will never see a class on Logic 101 in a public school.
No, nope. I mean, we can. I mean,
hey, that's a good segue into my book, though.
I knew that's the direction I was going to go too.
One more point. Like this idea isn't new. This idea is not new at all. You can go back to the Native Americans, the U.S. government taking the Native American kids away from their parents and sending them hundreds of miles away to boarding schools, to Catholic boarding schools, Christian boarding schools, whatever. And these boarding schools, like, beating kids for speaking their own language, beating kids for having long hair, beating kids for not obeying the rules, and literally trying to breed the Indian out of them, trying to destroy their culture.
Yeah, they did that in Canada too, which tries to pretend that they were always so culturally sensitive and so inclusive. And Canada did exactly the same thing too. They tried to manipulate the natives, the First Nations, with the same.
Canada and the U.S. used to be almost exactly the fucking same thing. I mean, through the colonization periods, Canada was every bit as fucking brutal as the U.S.
Yeah,
Canada just never got from under British rule.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not even a real country anyway.
Yeah. It's a commonwealth.
Blame Canada.
Shut your fucking face.
Well, now they're ruled by the village people, and
oh Jesus.
and Castro's son.
Yeah. Well, that's who I'm talking. Like, he seriously, like, if you look at his outfits, Trudeau's outfits over the past year or something. It's like every village people costume. Like,
it is perfectly.
That guy seems like the worst fucking example of, like,
he's
privileged rich kid.
He's Beto O'Rourke of the North.
Yeah. It's exactly it too. And exactly what we're talking, like, with the whole exclusivity of exclusivity. Like, we have to be so inclusive that no one can disagree with anyone, period. That's Trudeau right there. Like, let's use people, or let's use people instead of man, because it's, people kind instead of mankind, because it's more inclusive.
That's the whole intersectionality bullshit that they teach in, like, gender studies classes. That, like, intersectionality stems from, like, the whole, like, critical theory,
cultural Marxism.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is.
You really want to Russell Jimmy's and blow minds? Tell people that teachers are more responsible for the spread of liberalism than illegal immigrants.
Well,
they absolutely are.
That's so fucking obvious. I mean, people don't know that.
Well, no, because it's not. I mean, I don't think it's that the information isn't out there and that it isn't obvious. It's that it's that whole that same thing is, if your son was a serial killer, you'd not ever see it. Because who wants to believe the worst of somebody that they want to care about, that they find valuable, that, they don't want to believe the worst of that. So they just remain completely blind to what's directly in front of them
Well, yeah, because you're right. Because if they didn't act like teachers were the best fucking thing since the invention of the wheel, and if they recognized the deleterious effects on the brains of their children, they wouldn't have free daycare anymore.
Yep.
So, like, they have a vested interest in turning a blind eye to this shit.
Public schools. I mean, when you break it down, like on an hour by hour basis, kids spend more time at school than they do with their parents.
Oh, easily.
Some kids.
Most kids.
Most kids
do. Like, you know, public school starts like 8 to 3, right?
But you guys, my kids spend all day, every day.
Yeah, and they don't wear pants. So what do they do? What are you doing wrong?
All day.
Savages.
Every day, all day. All day, every day. All day, every day.
You know the circus still buys kids, right?
Yeah, I'd have to pay them. I'm pretty sure.
I've heard of this weird thing called like human trafficking. You can just drop your kid down off in Miami and you'll be fine.
I'm sure eventually it'll all work out for the best.
We can drop Declan off and he would bring down the whole fucking operation. He'd tear them apart.
What was that article from Vice like a year or two ago? Like the human body's worth like $200,000 in black market organs.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So.
Holy crap! I'm sitting on a gold mine.
These are jokes.
I'm sitting on a gold mine.
These are jokes. I love my kids, and I will fucking murder anybody who tries to hurt my children.
Get one of those bracelets, and you'll have extra organs in no time.
I love my kids so shit. I love my kids so much that I spend all day, every day with them, homeschooling them.
It's so nice. I'm totally like happy with my choices.
Hey, I love my life. It's so great. I love it. I'm so happy.
All work and no play makes Derek an adult girl.
That's why I have this box of Franzia sitting here, because you know it's my celebratory I'm so happy with my lifeline.
I'm a good mom. It's not about me. It's about what my children need.
Memphis police director asked legislators to make guns in cars illegal.
Hey, we were supposed to talk about my book when they said they didn't teach logic in school.
Talk about your book then.
Yeah, I wrote a book. It sold 3 whole copies. I'm rolling in the dough.
Peso rich.
Right. It's available on Amazon. It's called Think for Yourself, a critical thinking workbook for beginners. And I looked for a while for a homeschool lesson, some kind of lesson plan that I could use for critical thinking for the kids. Because most people aren't taught that. And our fucking society today is the exact reason why it should be fucking taught, so we don't end up with the exact shit that we have today. Yep, that's it. Jason's got the link up.
Amazon.
Yep. But all the ones that I looked at had like this heavy bias in them, and it like the higher the degree of the person who wrote it, the more fucking bullshit political bias was in them. So like
Jesus Christ, that's a long product description.
Probably longer than the book itself, honestly.
Almost.
Yeah. So at any rate, they all had a lot of bias. And so I was like, well, okay, so I'll make my own lesson plan. So I did. And then I was thinking, I'm going to want to keep this for Declan, because I made it for Caleb. He's 11. And I was like, I'm going to want to keep this for Declan, so I better type it up. So I started typing it up, and I was like, well, shit, if I have it typed up, I might as well fucking publish it in case anybody else wants it. So I published it. So it's on Amazon in case anybody wants it. I was really careful in the examples that I used and all that to not put any political bias anywhere in it. None. I didn't.
Well, Thomas Sowell does a really good interview on how the more academically inclined someone is, like the more they have a penchant for leaning towards socialism and leftism. Mm-hmm. And it's always like the pseudo intellectuals that they're educated in one field or whatever, and they think it qualifies them as a fucking master on everything.
Right. Yep. No. So I'm nobody special. I'm just a homeschooling mom that wanted a.
But I'm sure you probably made it like
lesson plan.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's probably just the basics, so that it's not like trying to steer you one way or the other.
It is. It's no frills. It's just super basic.
I helped edit it, and it's really good.
Yeah, Jason's seen most of it. He's got the file for the final product because I need a review. But yeah, it's just like the basic concepts and a little bit of exposure to Aristotle and things like that, and just and talk about logical fallacies and first principles, and I just keep it really bare bones and encourage the student to use that as a starting point. And there's room for notes so they can do some research on their own and write down their thoughts on everything that's been introduced. And then there's just like a journal with the steps in it so that they can put their own problem in and work through the steps on their own in the blanks. That's it. I mean, like that's all it is. It's really simple.
It sounds really silly, but I'm kind of curious on how much you want for it because I might get it for myself.
It's $9.99.
That actually might be worth me picking up. I've never gone through a logic class.
Oh, yeah. See, and I probably...
And I'm not claiming to be an expert. This is just how I'm going to teach my kids. You know what I mean?
Right, but I approve of your guys' logic, and I think that you're a smart human, and I appreciate your thoughts. So
awesome, thank you.
The fact is that I've literally never taken a logic class because I am very much a public school product. So it's one of those things that I've learned so much over the last couple of years interacting with you guys that maybe I'm hitting a point where maybe a logic class wouldn't be a bad idea, even if it's a basic one.
And this is more just like the basics of critical thinking, but to me, that's like the building block that you have to have to really get deeper into practical logic.
Well, and that's what you see a lot of in schools, public schools, and even private schools to a certain extent. Not all of them, but a lot of them, they worry about telling you what to think, not telling you how to think.
That's the first line that I put in the product description, isn't it, Jason?
And so that's like more regurgitated things, that teaching, especially if you are a liberty-minded parent, you want your kids to be able to think for themselves and analyze how does this make sense. I mean, that's why I didn't spoon feed the students the topic.
I did like exposure to concepts and encourage them to find more information on their own. Because to me, if you're spoon feeding the topic of critical thinking to students, you are engaging in performative fucking contradiction.
Yeah.
They have
like the greatest irony of all time.
Exactly.
Like, no, you know logic's this way.
Yes.
Well, that's the best way to learn anyway. When you're seeking things out for yourself, it's like you're
right, and that's how I expect
you're absorbing it way better.
Right, and I expect that from my kids, and I don't think that's unreasonable.
Well, so it's super important because, like, as an adult, I can't even tell you how much I encounter people who the if-then logic, simple bare bones Aristotelian logic, absolutely escapes them. Like they can't even begin. They have no grounding, and like I'll mention Aristotelian logic, and I get blanked at. Like, seriously? See, you have no idea what I'm talking about. None.
And
like,
I mean,
start somewhere.
Like, there's a chapter in there that breaks down deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, and abductive reasoning. And then there's a whole chapter devoted to first principles, just kind of a general overview of how you can break problems back down into their most foundational concepts.
So many anarchists fail at first principles.
Yes, they do, and I love first principles. It's my favorite. I could have gone on and on. I had to cut myself really short on that.
Actually, I have an article about that we can talk about first principles after this.
All right. Well, just last thing, the workbook is really only about like 22 pages of concepts in writing and, things like that. And the rest is just practice pages. And there's some space in the back to record, resources that you come across that you think are valuable. So, it's just kind of like a journal with a little guidance at the beginning. So if anybody's interested.
We're always taught to regurgitate everything and fucking... Yeah. They don't teach us the fundamentals to, like you were saying.
Public education is not education, it's schooling. Public schooling is teaching you how to fill in scantrons.
Right. Yep. And the way that I approached this in this workbook was
teaching for the test.
Was to compare critical thinking to like the scientific process, but that you could apply to things that are not science. You can apply it to other problems in your life. So that's how I approached it in this book. And I really worked hard to keep any of my own personal opinions the fuck out of it. Because that would be another performative contradiction. It's not up to me to tell them what conclusions they're supposed to reach. Yeah. I'm just there to show them how they can reach a conclusion. So, yeah. Again, that's called Think for Yourself, a Critical Thinking Workbook for Beginners. It's by me, Derica Claus.
Klaus.
That's right. And my first name is Dyreka. I know, it's messed up.
Derek.
Yep. So, yeah, I've sold 3 whole copies. Woo woo.
Hey, well, it's better than 0.
Before, right?
So one of them was my mom. Nice. 4, including my mom.
So speaking of first principles, I actually posted this article on Wolf, and it turned into a shitstorm. It really did. Like so many people took it for face value instead of like really breaking it down.
Yeah.
But bill would bar workers from being fired for private pot use.
And that's a misleading title anyways, because they're not banning the workers from getting fired. You can't fucking ban someone from getting fired. Yeah, no. They're banning the employers from firing people for off-the-job pot use.
Yeah. A proposed law in Massachusetts would bar employers from firing workers for using marijuana legally on their own time. While recreational marijuana use is legal for adults in the state, workers can still be fired for using the drug, even if it's outside of work, and its effects have worn off by the time they return to their jobs. The Boston Globe reports the measure filed by Democrat State Senator Jason Lewis would treat marijuana much like alcohol. Employees can be fired for showing up to work impaired, but employers could not police the private use of pot. Federal contractors would be exempt as marijuana remains illegal under U.S. law.
I mean, it makes sense to me that, if people are using it on their personal time, obviously it doesn't get out of their system in time, so they're going to test for it,
Well, I mean, it makes sense to me that in my opinion, an employer would be reasonable if they did not fire people for using pot in their own fucking free time, as long as they are not impaired when they come to work.
I agree. I would say that the vast majority.
And firing somebody for doing that would be unreasonable, in my opinion. But do I think that they should be forcibly prevented from doing whatever the fuck they want with their own goddamn business? Hell
no.
No.
I understand it from that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my point. That was my point of it, and people lost their minds and totally went the direction with it.
It's like the bake the fucking cake thing.
It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. And it's like I posted it, and a lot of people immediately went to, well, the boss doesn't own me on my off time, blah 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 blah. Like, well, that's not what the bill is about. That's not what the bill. The bill has nothing to do with your off time. Like, if you want to smoke pot, you want to smoke pot. But the employer, the business owner, has a right to dictate the terms of your employment.
Right. So they say the boss doesn't own me. Guess what? You don't own, motherfucker. You don't own that job. Your boss does.
Nobody is entitled to a job.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to work for Mick Jason's, then you have to follow. you have to follow the rules that I dictate in the contract.
Like, I'm
gonna have a contract written up, and if I say that you can only use your left hand and your hair has to be purple, well, motherfucker, then you can only use your left hand and your hair has to be purple, or you're not gonna work it.
Right.
And it would be the same with cannabis use. Like
and you would suffer the consequences.
I would obviously suffer. Like Mick Jason would become Mick Welfare because I'd be fucking out of business. Like, you know,
Mick Welfare.
Like I'd be absolutely screwed, and that was
gonna privatize welfare now.
We call that charity.
Mick Salvation Army. Yeah.
Booth Holder and Claus LLC.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be redundant though? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll give you welfare, but you have to work for it, and it's all private.
Right.
Woohoo! Right to work.
Oh. That sounds like the civil fucking conservation corps or whatever it was. Another government program.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, and
yeah,
so efficient.
Oh, I love your rat, Andrew. I love fancy rats. They're such good pets.
Oh, oh, there's another one. Oh goodness.
Yeah. Those are the girls.
Yeah. These are the girls. We had to put Meg down last night. So
we always get girls because the boys have such enormous fucking testicles. It's disgusting.
Yes, but they're so sweet and way more cuddly.
But they drag their testicles all over my fucking carpet.
Your kids don't wear pants.
But they don't.
What do you think their testicles are doing?
I was about to say my kids don't drag their testicles all over my carpet, but I'm pretty sure there's video proof on my timeline that that's not true.
My booty got.
No, we actually have 4 boys and then these 2 girls. So we have.
I love fancy rats.
But what are you doing? What are you?
Speaking of testicles, my dogs keep biting each other's testicles, and now all their balls are bleeding, and I don't know what to do.
Oh my god! What the fuck?
They just get rough with each other. They do when they're playing, like play fighting out in the yard. They fucking bite each other's dicks and balls all the time.
Why? Why are they
alpacas will do that. The male alpacas will fight. Male alpacas will fight and try to bite each other's balls off in order to remove the other person from reproducing.
From the gene pool. Yeah, these guys are, I mean, they're not
big dumb dogs chasing like large round things that are bouncing around.
Yeah. It's basically, they're not doing it to be malicious. All their tails are wagging. They're all having fun. They stop, they get a drink of water, they go back and start biting each other's nuts again. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with that. They're just maybe not the brightest creatures on the planet. God knows I love those dogs. But all of them now have ouchie boo-boos on their fucking balls. Because
Fergus likes to hump Castiel, his brother. For what reason, we haven't figured out.
Our dog's 69. One will lay on the floor. One will lay on the floor and start, like, the other one will start humping his mouth and then licking the other one's dick. And they, like, it's... I'm not joking.
Terrible.
It's like a prison film. It's terrible.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And,
it's like, could you please not take it in the other room?
Dogs hump mostly when they're just really, like, excited by something and they don't know what to do with all that energy. And so, like, you know, they start humping. So anytime they get too riled up, they start doing weird shit like that. But I don't know. Even though they're eating my stairs. They're eating my basement stairs currently. I still love those dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, I there's no way I can segue from that to anything I have. The closest I got is a bull.
Well, they're bulldogs. Well, they're band dogs. They're mastiff and bulldog. So there you go, bulldog.
I guess. Yeah, that kind of works.
Yeah. We're stretching. We don't need a segue on that one. Nobody wants to hear about my dog's balls anymore. Moving on.
We did lose a viewer.
I'm sorry.
No, I think it was me.
Adams County pays $2.6 million to slain Idaho rancher's family. This is one of those ones that like I thought was really going to go somewhere, and it didn't. It fizzled out. People stopped caring. 3 years after 2 sheriff deputies shot and killed a council rancher, this is Council, Idaho, a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family has been settled for $2.6 million. Adams County Sheriff's deputies Brian Wood and Cody Rowland shot and killed Jack Yantis on November 1st, 2015, while the rancher was attempting to put down his bull after it had been severely injured in a car crash. A couple driven by a Nampa couple struck the bull on US 95 in front of the Yantis Ranch north of Council. County dispatchers had called Yantis, 62, at home to tell him he had to take care of his injured animal. He went to the road with his rifle to euthanize it. The deputies said Yantis held the rifle in a, quote, threatening manner and refused commands to lower it. They shot him 12 times.
What did they fucking think he was going to do?
Oh, there's so much more to this story. Like that was like a really, really weak.
But like they told him to come take care of his injured animal that had been hit by a car.
Let's see.
What is the guy's gonna come put the animal down?
Yeah.
Do you think he was just gonna come do it with his bare hands?
I think they figured that, when they said come take care of it, he was gonna show up with his magic wand and go ahead and heal the animal
and fucking haul it over to the vet.
Yeah, what
really?
Come take care of it? That's if it's injured that badly, there ain't but one thing you're gonna do with an animal that size hurt that bad.
Exactly.
This is from a different article, not the one that I was. This from a different article. Adams County Sheriff's Officer dispatcher called one of the family's bulls had just been hit by a car on the highway, and that Yantis needed to go take care of it. In rural open range, collisions between vehicles and livestock are not uncommon. Ranchers often put down the injured animals. Jack Yantis had unfortunately done it before. Yantis had raised and tamed the 2,500-pound black bull similar to an Angus named Keyford. Its rear leg was shattered by the collision with the Subaru station wagon. The bull started charging people at the crash scene.
All you can do is put that animal down. That is the only way to deal with that situation.
Paratis, which is Yantis' nephew, walked down to check on the situation. The injured bull had made its way back to the driveway and was lying in the grass. Quote, he knew he was home, Paratis said. He was hurt, but he's still an Angus bull on the fight. Jack Yantis told Paratis, Paratis is the nephew, to get a rifle. The family's skeet loader, a small front-end loader, and a chain. Paratis had in turn asked his aunt to get the family's .204 caliber rifle and bring it to the road. Yantis took a small all-terrain vehicle, in this case a four-wheeler, down to the driveway and parked it on the highway facing the animal. Jack went to the end of the driveway to end the bull's life and protect anyone else from getting hurt, including the very deputies who shot and killed him. Paratis was getting the skid loader and deputies started shooting the bull. At least one of them had a semi-automatic rifle, perhaps an AR-15. Quote, they opened up with their rifles and their M16s before Jack got there. That is an inhumane deal. This is a 2-ton Angus bull that's pissed off, hurt, and psychotic. It was blazing down there, and it sounded like World War III on this bull because they got him charging at everyone. Paratis drove the skid loader down to the driveway and parked on the highway. The bull was lying on the pavement. Donna Yantis had walked the rifle to her husband, Jack. Well, Yantis was standing about 4 feet from the bull, aiming the rifle at the back of the bull's head. His back was to the two deputies who were standing in the far lane facing each other as if they were having conversation. Quote, the rifle's barrel was about 2 feet from the bull, and Jack Yantis' finger was on the trigger. Quote, everything was going as planned. I did not notice any conversations at all between Jack and the deputies, Paratis said. The one cop turned around and grabbed the shoulder and jerked him backwards. The deputy came from behind, spun Yantis around, and grabbed the rifle's scope. The deputy pushed Yantis. The rifle was still in Yantis' hand. Its barrel pointed to the ground. Yantis was trying to regain his footing. Paradise said he does not know whether the rifle fired, but he does not know whether the rifle fired, but he thinks it might have discharged accidentally when the deputy grabbed Yantis and spun him around, or when one of the deputies' bullets pierced Yantis' hand holding the rifle, hitting the gun and damaged it. One deputy began shooting Yantis, then the other deputy started shooting. Yeah, they shot him in front of his wife and nephew because apparently they yelled at him and he didn't hear it because he was trying to put his bull out of misery.
He's trying to do exactly what they called him to come do.
Yeah.
Are these like city slicker cops? Like, were they not raised out there? Is this not their natural community?
Neither one of them was from the area.
There you go.
These were Idaho, like state marshals, or state police, whatever they are up there. And like I think one of them was from Spokane, and I think the other one was from Denver or something like that. And like they had moved to the area for the job.
Why would you hire city slickers?
Yeah, Idaho State Police.
People out in the fucking boonies.
Yeah,
it is a whole different culture out there. Why would you hire people without being sure that they understand how these things fucking work?
Yeah, following a 9-month investigation by Idaho State Police, the Idaho Attorney General's office, and the FBI, both state and federal prosecutors announced that they did not have enough evidence to file criminal charges.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. We investigated ourselves and found we did
know.
Roland resigned 1 month after the shooting. Wood left after being on paid leave for 10 months following the shooting.
They shouldn't have been out there to begin with. You know, and you get this a lot with city folk. Let me just rant for 1 second here. That think that people who live out in the sticks are just backward hicks and don't understand anything. Motherfucker, you go out into our territory, you are the one who doesn't fucking understand anything. All right? An animal that size with a broken leg, that animal has to be put down. And I guarantee you, the person who was raising that animal knows how to do it humanely. Okay? Like, you don't fucking understand. You're too afraid of the fucking implements of daily life that are required when you're living further out from cities, like guns. You know,
There's Jack.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like
just a good old country boy.
Type. I grew up around men like that. You know, I mean, like, he reminds me of my grandpa out on the farm. I mean, we used to go out and help butcher cattle that he'd slaughtered. You know, it's a different life than people who grew up in these big fucking metropolitan areas where they have absolutely no connection to the land or animals or anything like that. They shouldn't be going out and working in these areas if they don't understand the fucking culture.
Well, yeah, and I guarantee
somebody fucked up by hiring them.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that the reason they started shooting was because they have it ingrained in their heads from having lived in the city. Oh, he's got a gun anywhere near me.
Have a gun in their hand.
Yeah, and oh my God, he's got a gun. And so they just freaked out, and they're like, "Hey, what do you got that gun for?" And he's busy trying to put this animal down, and then
everybody else is standing around like, "What the fuck? This is what he should be doing." If a farmer's animal is hurt, the farmer puts the animal down with a gun. Where are you assholes from that you don't fucking know that?
Yeah.
Right?
And then all of a sudden they just start shooting him, and everyone's like, "What the hell?"
Right.
Like, why?
Oh. Yeah.
Somebody should have shot the two of them, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they should have. This was November 2014, so this is right after Bundy Ranch, the standoff, and then right after
which is another case of city slickers interfering in shit they don't fucking understand.
It was either right. This was either like directly after, or directly before the Gold Gulch standoff in Southern Oregon. Also with BLM, but yeah, there was some protests and some marches and whatnot, and there was a lot of demands for justice, and it was one of those stories that just completely faded away. But like, I'm a little choked up about it. But this thing, pisses me off so much that these two cops, number one, that they got away with it.
Yeah.
Like that angers me to no end. They absolutely got away with it, and they're probably police officers somewhere else right now.
Yep.
That they can totally do this to someone else, and
yeah, they should have fucking hung themselves in shame for being such goddamn fucking pussies. They didn't understand what had to be done.
Yeah.
And they just lost their minds because, oh my God, somebody's got a gun, which is a completely everyday freaking thing. I mean, you live out in the sticks. People walk around with rifles on their property all the time. They have shotguns. They have revolvers. This is an everyday thing.
In that area, like large wild predators are still very much a fucking thing.
Yeah, there's mountain lions. There's friggin' wolves.
Bears. Yeah.
There's police.
Yeah, police. Speaking of deadly predators. Yeah. But I mean, that's like, it's an everyday thing. And so for everybody that grew up out in the country, somebody walking up with a gun when there's a wounded animal freaks no one out.
No, yeah.
No, not at all.
These idiots.
We know what has to be done.
Yeah, and these idiots, I guarantee you, just looked at him and went, oh my God, it's a person who's not a cop who has a gun anywhere near me, lost their mind, and decided to commit fucking murder, and then got away with it because they had a shiny piece of metal on their chest.
Either that
The county, Adams County is a rural county located in the state of Idaho. As of 2010 census, the county has a population of 3,976.
And let me tell you, these cops were Idaho state troopers. Idaho has almost nothing but rural counties. Idaho is largely rural.
Yeah, 1,370 square miles. It has a population density of 2.9 people per square mile.
Yeah.
Sounds about where I'm from.
Yeah.
Why were these cops hired to patrol in Idaho if they'd only ever lived in cities?
I don't know.
They only ever worked in cities. I mean, there were so many failures.
They shot him 12 times.
It's fucking ridiculous.
They were not shooting. They were not shooting to stop him. They were shooting to kill him.
Yeah, and and keep in mind, this is after they get unloaded at this bowl with a 22.
Yeah,
yeah, with the AR-15 or M16 or whatever they have. I'm sure it's an AR-15, but which is a 22 caliber round.
It's not gonna
kill a bull.
And if they had patrol pistols, it's either 9mm or 40. Probably 40 because they sound like fucking fuds. So they had 40 caliber pistols and a 22 caliber rifle, and they're shooting at a 1,200 pound or 2,500 pound bull.
Which tells you these assholes have only ever shot at human beings. They don't know the first fucking thing about livestock.
Paper. Probably the only thing they've shot at is paper.
Probably.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
But they certainly don't know the first thing about livestock. That's
and they probably even had patrol shotguns in a holster in the center of that front of that police car.
Oh, I'm sure they did, because state troopers in places like Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, they're fucking supplied with those because they often run into large wildlife.
Moose.
Yeah. Moose. Yeah.
So they probably had
fucking bison.
Yeah, and those things are do not screw with something.
They're not predators, but they will kill the fuck out of you.
Moose, bear, elk. I mean,
and so they even had a weapon at their disposal that would have been one round and put it down. But because they didn't know, because they're not from there and have never had to deal with livestock before in their lives. I mean, I guarantee you they were under the impression when they said, come get it, that he was probably going to like pick it up and put it on a flatbed and haul it to the vet. I think that's probably what they wanted him to do.
I'm almost positive that's what they thought was going to fucking happen. No, you don't. I'm sorry. Pick it up with what now? Like, this is a 1,200 pound animal.
2,500 pound.
Oh, 2,500.
It's a big bull.
Okay. So this is a big time guy.
Big, similar to a Black Angus.
Right. Yeah. These are big fucking animals.
Yeah. Lots of steak.
Big animals. Well, lots of steak if you don't have idiot city slicker cops pumping fucking rounds into them.
20
all of it. Too.
Yeah, it's all wasted now too.
Yeah, it's all wasted now.
Yeah, a Subaru wagon. A Subaru wagon hit it on a highway and fractured its leg. The bull was still mobile. The bull was still alive and moving around.
Mm-hmm. But it had a broken leg, so it had to be put down.
Like, so, understandable. It absolutely had to put down. There's no doubt about that. I agree completely.
And like, people don't understand, an animal that big, you cannot keep them off their feet. They will never heal. They will be in excruciating pain for the rest of their lives because that bone will never heal. They will keep breaking it over and over and over again. There's no way to save them. They have to be put down.
Yeah, they opened fire on the bull, and the bull charged them.
Yeah.
Like, the entire situation could have been resolved with the one bullet.
That right there should have told them that they had no fucking clue what they were doing, and they should have stopped and watched the fucking natives to see what they would do. I mean, when in Rome.
Yeah, and they have a shotgun sitting right there. It's probably got slugs in it. They can go ahead, put one slug in this thing's skull, and it's down and it's done.
Or they could just let the farmer handle it like they fucking told him to.
Yeah, and they called the guy.
Yeah. Like he was pointing the gun at the back of the bull's head. He had his rifle, and the barrel was 2 feet from the back of the bull's head. One shot,
why would they grab him and stop him? Like, that's what I don't understand. Why would they grab him and stop him?
Because, I mean, that's horrible. Why would you shoot an animal in the back of the head? It clearly isn't going to work because we tried.
Yeah, because we tried and we can't.
And you're not wearing a special uniform, so I'm scared of you pulling that trigger. Because I'm not sure you have the training to do this, because it's not like you are 60 fucking years old and have been a rancher your whole life.
Yep, blue superiority.
Well, we had that the one time back in like 01. When I was in Reedstown, and Reedstown is like population 250 people, maybe something like that. But there was during 01 when there was the big anthrax scare, and somebody apparently there was a letter showed up in the post office that had a bunch of white powder on it. So everyone's like worried about it, that this might be anthrax and everything. And so the locals all immediately, the normal civilians were like, holy crap, we need to leave this thing here, clear out of here. Everybody needs to get away. And, and we'll call hazmat and have them come out and everything. And this idiot cop is like, oh, no, this probably isn't. And then starts driving around town, showing it to everybody. And if it was anthrax, exposing every single person to anthrax. Does this look like anthrax to you? Does this look like anthrax? What the hell is wrong with you? But he thought, well, because he's a cop, he can do this. And when people are like, you should really maybe put that down and not. And he's like, no, it'll be fine. Are you serious?
We're invincible.
People? But because he's a cop, he must know better than us poor country bumpkins. We just don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, maybe don't sniff the anthrax. I don't know. I feel like
Aunt Marge was like, shit, I totally didn't wipe off my hands before sealing that letter after making like the bread.
Oh no, it turned out to be a somebody done somebody wrong fake thing, but they even made because the library was in the same place. There's two little old lady librarians, the hazmat, because they didn't know if it was anthrax. Literally, the newspaper said they had to strip them to their eyeglasses. And
oh my god! I bet they got a thrill out of that. I'll tell you what. Man. When I'm a little old lady, nobody's gonna want to strip me anymore. So if somebody does it, even if they have to, still, I'm gonna get my jollies out of it. Right? I'm just saying.
It was just so funny. Like everyone's like, no, don't pick that up. Don't pick that up. He's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm the cop here. And start showing it to everybody.
Oh my god!
Why would you do that? But you
don't tell me what to do. I'm the cop. I'm the fucking
all
authority.
The time with these cops. Oh, I know better. Let the professional do this. Yeah, but you're in this instance, like with the bull, you're not the professional here. He is the rancher. He's the professional. Yes, let the professional handle it. What?
Yeah. Fucking Barney Fife.
So, all right, now that I'm good and angry, I want to do this last one, and then we can. All
right, cool.
I gotta get going anyway.
You're gonna take off right now, or
yeah,
it's 20 after. So,
yep.
All right, brother. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, Dan.
Right. Yep.
Bye, Dan. Oh shit! It is 20 after.
Yeah. So.
No wonder I have to pee so bad.
This is out of this is from Las Vegas on Christmas Day. Police continue reminding people not to feed homeless, yet do-gooders persist. Throughout Christmas Day, people can be seen pulling up to areas known for their homeless population, handing out blankets, bags, food, and drinks, all in the spirit of giving. Yet Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is urging the public not to give back like this. Officials are telling people to donate to shelters and help serve food through organizations such as Catholic Charities, the Salvation Army, and the Las Vegas Rescue Mission. In fact, during the Thanksgiving holiday, LVMPD issued several citations carrying a $1,000 fine for people who pulled over and fed the homeless.
I would fucking squat down, shit on their squad car, and wipe my ass with their citation.
City officials say they know people mean well, but it's better to donate in a controlled environment.
Bullshit.
No, it's not.
No, it's fucking not.
They say there's health and safety concerns for these people on the streets, and they say sometimes there are even fights over donations.
There are health and safety concerns. That's why we're giving them shit.
Yeah, they're freezing and they're fucking starving. Those are their health and safety concerns.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah.
Jesus.
For Christmas.
Oh, yeah, it's so unhealthy for them. I pulled an unopened can of vegetable beef stew out of my fucking cupboard, and I gave it to someone. Oh my God, they're going to die. I mean, it would have been okay to be eaten inside my house. But if you eat it on a sidewalk, it's deadly.
Yeah. For Christmas, News 3 caught up with Rosie, Bernie, and her husband, who said they wanted to spend their holiday in service. They say they don't think they should have to go through an organization to do so.
No, they shouldn't have to.
Quote, that's all my husband wanted to do was come out and feed the homeless, Rosie said. Quote, I try to give back whichever way I can. I'm not going through a community when we have to do it on our own. We just do it. People donated and feeding the homeless definitely have their hearts in the right place, but another reason officials urge police not to do so is because of the trash and wrappers that become litter. LVMPT continues to urge anyone who wants to help the homeless to reach out to local shelters in order to give.
So let these people starve and freeze because they might leave a wrapper sitting on the side of the street.
Reach out to the shelter that doesn't have enough fucking room for them. Otherwise, they'd already fucking be there.
Yeah, like they act like these people like, oh, well, I could go sleep in a warm bed and like have a shower and get some food.
But fuck
you know
that,
what?
nah.
I'd really rather just sleep under this overpass where, you know, the fumes of the cars are my constant companion, because that seems better.
Or sleep inside of central offices. And
the central offices of major telecoms.
That the technicians are going to come in the next day and then have to call the police and get me hauled out. Like,
right?
No,
that's not. They're not actively making this choice. They don't have a fucking choice. It's kind of the nature of homelessness. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But go to these central locations to help out people that don't have any way to fucking get there.
Yep.
These congested areas where there is going to be more likelihood of problems, like with weapons, and
right. Yep. And get a whole bunch of them together so the fights over donation resources can get really big and violent.
Yeah, exactly. So that then they can riot,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
don't
the police,
you dare go to them, though.
And the fucking police that are writing tickets for people feeding or handing out supplies to the homeless.
Yeah.
Oh, their heart's in the right place, but I'm going to fucking extort them for $1,000 for it.
$1,000 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what town that was in.
Because they handed a bag of food to a starving person.
Yeah, what level of asshole do you have to have achieved?
You have to be cop level asshole, Andrew. I mean, we were just talking about this.
Yeah, they're like on the seventh layer of hell with lawyers and IRS agents.
You have to be like sky high on your own fucking authority.
Good God. I mean, I can't. How do you even call
justify
yourself?
That? How do you fucking sleep at night? That's what I want to know.
How do you look in a mirror and go, I'm going to find somebody $1,000 for helping out a needy human being today?
Like, and if you genuinely believed it was a problem, that this was going to cause an issue, wouldn't you, as another human being, recognizing that this is great, your heart's in the right place, wouldn't you just walk up to them and go, hey, you know, maybe this isn't the right way.
I'm just going to stand here and facilitate this, make sure it goes safely for you, and then it goes safely for them. I'm just going to stand here and be available in case anybody needs me. That would be the right fucking thing to do if you really had a concern about anybody's safety.
Yeah, if you actually cared about people and it wasn't about revenue generation.
Yeah. Exactly. And flexing your fucking blue
any episode that I get to read this meme, it's it's a good episode. But it says, I really hate it when people try to justify their immoral and illegal actions by saying, I'm just doing my job. If you don't like it, blame the lawmakers. But the truth is, without your compliance with the laws they make, without you enforcing them, Washington wouldn't be an issue. It would just be a group of people in suits circle jerking, dreaming of taking away our freedoms and rights and writing it down on paper.
Yep. Always a good one.
And that's exactly what it comes down to. Like people are always blaming Washington. They blame the city councils. They blame the state. They blame the senators and the bureaucrats and the Democrats and Republicans, and it's their fault and it's this fault and blah blah blah. The police are the ones that enforce all this bullshit.
Yeah, they're the ones who are literally putting the gun against your fucking head.
They are literally the reason we can't have freedom. Yeah. If police stood up and said, no, we won't do that, no, we won't enforce that,
right?
Politicians don't fucking matter. It's words on paper.
Exactly.
Well, why
it literally does not matter.
Well, yeah. Well, and why do you think it's always such a big deal whenever there's huge protests or anything else, and then the police start to threaten to join the protesters?
Yeah.
Why do you think that's such a big deal? Because if they do, now the politicians have no one to enforce their edicts.
That's why to protect them from the people that they've been fucking over.
That's why Macron, or in France, McCann's whatever his fucking name is. That's why he bent so fast.
Yep, because the police were threatening to join the Yellow Vests.
Some police did. Some police actually did take off their uniforms and join the join the protesters. And that's one of the reasons that things change so quickly.
And like we've said before, if the cops didn't enforce, if they fucking thought for themselves and refused to enforce all this petty little bullshit, probably none of us would be anarchists by this point, because we'd have very little to complain about.
I say that all the time. If we lived under a truly constitutional government, I wouldn't be an anarchist. Like I would have very little to complain about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same
there'd
for
be
me.
no reason.
If they restricted their activities to legitimately protecting people from violence, crimes, if they truly bitch about.
Yeah, if they truly did nothing but protect the rights of the individual, protect the freedoms of the individual, I would have very little bitch about.
Yep.
But that's not what they're about.
No, it's not.
The problem is that the police departments aren't going to hire anybody with an above average IQ.
Well,
they actually went to court. They went to court over that, and the court ruled in favor of the police departments. That the police departments
said they could discriminate against applicants with IQ that was too high.
With have IQs,
Yep. Yep. Because people who are more intelligent now, whether IQ means they're actually more intelligent or not is another subject. But people who are more intelligent are not typically good order followers.
No, because we ask why too many times.
Right. And they need cops to not question their orders and to not question the paradigm. And they can't have cops questioning the authority that they're supposed to carry. So yeah, that's why they don't hire intelligent people for police departments. So
but no cops will ever enforce gun confiscation, right?
Every
fair in Wisconsin.
They do it all the time.
Every single gun law is backed by confiscation.
Yep. Every law ever written is backed by a death threat.
Yeah,
people would remember that.
September 8th, 2000, ABC News, court okays barring high IQs for cops. Right there.
Yeah.
ABC News.
So disgusting.
Yep.
And we brought this up several times, but we brought it up a lot of times, but it's always fucking relevant.
Yeah.
You know, it's always gonna be relevant.
Yeah, you're literally, when you're talking about an American police force, you're literally talking about a group of men who are armed, who have a license to kill you.
Literally,
and they're basically schoolyard bullies who got fucking all D's.
You're talking about a group of people at its core that they're walking around with a license to kill you, heavily armed. They're not going to suffer any consequences if they do kill you. They're intentionally stupid and under no obligation to protect you whatsoever, but you're convinced that they are there for your protection. And they even put in quotes, protect and serve on the side of their vehicles. Like,
and their job, their job is to prey on you.
Yeah,
and extort you for their fucking masters.
Yeah.
Think about how Orwellian that is. I mean,
Robert Jordan, a 49-year-old college graduate, took the exam in 1996 and scored 33 points, the equivalent of an IQ of 125. But New London police interviewed only candidates who scored between 20 to 27 on the theory that those who scored too high could get bored with police work and leave soon after undergoing costly training. Most cops scored just above normal. The average score nationally for police was 21 to 22, the equivalent of an IQ of 104, or just a little above average.
Jeez.
So,
smart
enough to do the job, just dumb enough to think they're helping.
No wonder my recruiter didn't want me in actual infantry of any kind. They were like, nope, if you're going to come in, you're going to go into intelligence.
Yeah, well, same like my ASVAB scores. They were like, well, we think you need to be in the nuke program. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And they were like, cryptology? And I was like, all right. But like the only options they were putting on there were ones that they thought I wasn't going to fucking cause trouble in because I'd get bored.
Well, like I had told my recruiter I'd gotten like an hour and a half of sleep and I scored enough to get in, but not super high after that. But my recruiters, I happen to know from growing up. And they're like, no. If you had gotten actual sleep and actually took this test again, you're going to end up qualifying for all the intelligence stuff. Why don't we go ahead and have you take it again?
Yeah.
Also because I was forced to take it in the 10th grade.
Forced to take it in a public school.
Yep. We are required.
We're required to take ASVAB too. We have to.
What the hell? Oh my.
Yeah. Oh. I got like a 94.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. I got a 97 and still wound up light infantry because I was planning on going into special operations. So
and you were shit-faced.
Yeah, I was also really drunk when I took it. Like really.
Right. While we're on the subject, just real quick, Memphis police director asked legislators to make guns in cars illegal.
Yeah.
The Shelby County legislative delegation heard from Memphis police director Mike Rawlings loud and clear. The group was holding their annual meeting when officers talk about legislation they'd like to see approved in Nashville next year. Director Rawlings said he doesn't want any laws passed that would make it easier for people to carry guns. Yes, he talked about crime, how violent crime is dropping, but not nearly enough for his liking.
Wait, make it easier for people to carry guns? You mean make it easier for people to bear arms?
Yes, he has no troubles with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation looking into all Memphis police involved shooting. Okay. I told them, he said, don't pass, anything related to guns. I asked them to repeal guns in cars.
No, there's no repeal. It's a fucking right.
Yeah, it's a right whether you acknowledge it or not.
Exactly. There's no repeal, nothing, motherfucker. You don't get to repeal my rights.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
The members of the delegation will tell you his request probably won't happen. The Tennessee General Assembly is still basically the same group that approved guns in cars, guns in bars, guns in parks, and might even approve allowing people to carry guns without a permit.
See, that pisses me off.
Yeah,
approve. We don't need your fucking approval. Sorry.
Quote, get a coat and some earmuffs if you want to see guns in cars bill repealed, said one legislator, because it will be a cold day when that happens.
That's awesome.
That's a pretty in your face.
But see, that whole thing is fucking backwards to begin with.
Oh, absolutely.
That they're granting permission for you to do things you already have a fucking right to do.
Yeah, thank you, oh benevolent government, for approving.
There's no permission to grant or repeal. It's not your fucking business. Stay in your lane, assholes.
Well, and I love that his justifications. Oh, well, the violent crime isn't coming down enough. Wait, so these people that you're worried about are by definition criminals, and you are under the impression that if you say, but the law won't allow you to do this thing, that then they won't do it?
What's the definition of a criminal? Someone who doesn't.
Well, yeah, that's how we ban speeding and cannabis,
like,
you know,
and drugs.
What makes you think that magically now that you say no more that they're going to be like, oh, well, you know, I was that's a drive-by shooting, but now because guns aren't allowed in cars, I guess we're going to have to.
I was going to kill this guy.
It's totally magic, right?
Like, even though killing somebody's illegal, I was still going to do it. But now that it's more illegaler, I'm maybe not going to do it.
That's a little too illegal for me. Hey,
yeah, well, I mean, you guys know how laws work and how they're magic. Like, you guys ever try to jaywalk? Like, you go to step off the curb and it's like hitting an invisible wall. Like,
I fucking totaled my car when my driver's license expired.
Like, I know, it's crazy. It's like driving along, it expires, and you're like, oh my god, what am I doing? And
shit, rolling in the ditch and everything. Yeah. Like, I totally fucking forgot how to drive my car.
I mean, that's why we can't
buy my government permission expired.
Because the government won't allow it, so we can't possibly buy drugs. So
that's right.
Yeah, we have this crew has no drugs at all.
Never.
I tried to buy some, and then this guy was like, "No, I'm sorry, that would be illegal. I can't do that."
Well, I tried to buy them, and I held out my hand, and they just went right through my hand. I literally couldn't because they were illegal.
Yeah, that's like here in California, they stop drive-by shootings because when people drive, they'll drive by and they'll go to shoot, and the bullets will like hit an invisible wall when it exits the window, and the bullets just fall down on the ground.
Because it's illegal to shoot people, and it's illegal to kill people, and it's illegal to have guns in your cars like that.
Have a massacre gun.
Yeah, you need the massacre guns. Those can violate the laws.
Yeah, massacre guns are.
That's from Fast and Furious, right? Those ones that the government gave away.
Yeah, those are the massacre guns. Those
the massacre guns, and maybe somebody should make it illegal to kill somebody because I mean it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, why are we not banning murder? I feel like that would fix it.
I love senators.
I feel like we should ban getting mad at people. Like, wouldn't that fix all
there you go.
That's
what we need. We need some Harrison Bergeron style emotion control.
Yeah, we gotta ban anger.
And all the and the really smart people, they can wear the hats or the helmets that give them shocks, like whenever they start thinking, right? And that'll keep them from thinking, and that'll bring the IQ to an average level, and then we're totally equal.
Just the people that don't respond appropriately to that treatment, well, we can just fucking lobotomize them for the good of society.
That's what we could pass laws making them take Ritalin or ADHD drugs. Things like
Why don't we just ban free will? Holy shit, I'm a fucking genius.
Yeah, we can make it illegal to think for yourself.
Hell, motherfucking yeah.
Well, negative thoughts in general just need to be illegal.
So, equilibrium.
Well, so we'll go ahead and, just have some telepaths listening in.
We should just have robots do the thinking for us. And
some Minority Report.
We can just follow what the robots say.
Yeah.
Right. Don't
robot overlords.
Don't follow the white rabbit.
Oh, great! Think.
We can just put every human being in an exoskeleton that's externally controlled by smart people in white buildings. And so then your body literally can't do anything that would be illegal.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll solve everyone's problems, right?
Everything's solved.
So it's just occurred to me, as anarchists, we totally took both the red pill and the blue pill at the same time. Right?
Same time.
Yeah.
It was a purple pill.
It was a purple pill.
Wait.
I don't know if that was enough for a downer.
Hashtag purple woke.
Now, you guys.
Yeah. It's just like.
Hashtag purple woke.
Yep.
Feel free to meme my stuff. That's cool.
The purple pill. That's
purple pill.
Both red pilled and blue pilled simultaneously.
Great. We're
All right,
really,
I have to pee.
We're really intelligently slaves, but we got like hard-ons now, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
If your freedoming lasts more than 4 hours, contact your doctor.
Contact your local police department.
Yeah. Repeat third grade.
Hashtag freedom boner.
There's no shame in freedom boners. No shame at all.
Mine's bigger than yours, though.
Freedom boner. I'm sorry, I just blacked out on freedom. I don't know what just happened.
I'm so confused.
I was snorting rails of freedom off of this
Rails?
ass.
While feeding the homeless.
While feeding the homeless and collecting rainwater.
Dangerous radicals and their rainwater feeding the homeless. Lemonade stands and things.
Yeah. All right. I think on that note.
That's a good note to go out on.
Yeah.
All right. We'll catch you in a few weeks for the next one.
Yep.
Until then, peace, love, anarchy.
See you next year. Dad joke.
Hashtag freedom boners.
Dad joke.
Freedom boners.
Yeah.
Freedom boners. Purple pill. Hashtag purple pill.
Yeah. This is our last podcast of the year.
Oh.
All right. Peace. I hit the wrong button.